Welcome to the EGC Marketing Podcast. We provide you with the latest digital marketing news, performance marketing tips, and creative problem-solving skills you need to stay resilient in our fast-changing world of marketing. Listen and learn how to get the edge over your competition and grow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EGC Marketing Edge podcast. I am your host, Max Ross, and I'm thrilled to have with us today none other than Michael DiMarco. As digital strategists and seasoned SEO pros, we're all aware of the digital realm is always on the move. Lately, artificial intelligence has emerged as a major player, completely changing the game and how users engage with search engines. And in this episode, we are diving deep into the intricacies of this exciting evolution. Our mission with this podcast is simple: to equip you with the knowledge and tactics you need to navigate the ever-changing digital landscape of marketing. Today, my conversation with Michael will revolve around the profound overlap between AI and SEO, and we'll also explore how this game-changing technology is revolutionizing search experiences, from Google's AI-driven responses to the potential of tools like ChatGPT 4. Michael, it's great to have you with us.
It's great to have you. That was a hefty intro.
That's how we do it here. All right. So before we even begin to talk about AI, can you just give our listeners a brief overview as to what SEO is and really its importance for businesses?
Search engine optimization, or SEO, is the act of optimizing and making adjustments and changes, creating content to your website in order to make sure that it ranks within Google search naturally. It's generally considered, it's important for businesses. It's generally considered to be the more affordable, right, long-term strategy. You can put tons of money into paid, and you could keep spending and spending and spending. But if you're not growing on the organic side of things, then you're going to have to keep spending that money before, or you're just going to run out your customer base, right? They're never going to see you again. So it's important to grow out that organic profile and grow out your strengths and make sure that your website is seen as credible for Google, that it has quality content for users, that it answers questions, that it works with other websites to establish domain authority, and all of these sort of micro factors build together to rank your website higher. And that's what SEO is.
So obviously, with the recent trend in AI, especially with AI and search engines, people are more so getting their information from the widget on the, I believe it is the right, when it comes to, whatever it is they're searching for. How is this addition of a Bard impacting, the way that users interact with their search engines, and likewise, the amount of times a website may be clicked or even how a website is ranked?
Yeah, it's actually huge right now, because there's estimates that put up to 30% loss in clicks that will emerge from some of this stuff, right? Because the big thing about AI search is personalization. So I can go in and I can search whatever I need that is 100% specific to me and maybe 10 other people on the planet, and I will return results that are hopefully appropriate for that. And so I can do all that. And I could, if I have more questions, if I'm searching for headphones, I want a new pair of headphones, and I start my search and I'm looking and I tell AI, hey, take on the role of an audiophile and tell me the best questions to ask in order to find the best value per dollar headphones, for quality per dollar, and raises a bunch of questions. And then I could ask it to dive deeper into those questions, and it could provide me answers, and it could provide me specific links to products, and it can do all of this that's specific to me and my needs and what I'm looking for without ever having to click on a website, ever. So then you have this problem where people such as myself, right, search engine optimizers, if that's what we call ourselves, are trying to find out ways that we can optimize for those searches, in that we still want to be relevant, we still want to be showing up. So if somebody does want to dive deeper or go directly to the source, they have that opportunity. But at the same time, two things that are going to be a factor, I mentioned, right? 30% less clicks to websites. That's what people are anticipating. And the other thing, too, that needs to be considered is that those people who do show up, you're going to be competing with some of the bigger database websites, right? You're going to be competing with, if you're in the medical vertical, you have Mayo Clinic that you have to compete against. You have Cleveland Health. If you're trying to just do general information, Wikipedia is a credible source. It's been around for years. It has a lot of information on it that AI likes to pull from, unsurprisingly. So those are your competitors. So the challenge becomes, if you're a smaller business, a smaller practice, and you're trying to compete against these entities, how can you do that? And I'm sure we'll get into answering that question, but just, I guess, a bit of a tease is you got to follow those more niche searches. You got to do those things that people are looking for.
Yeah, so this actually transitions very well into the next question I was going to ask you, which, again, using the term of like an audio file or the example of an audio file that you spoke about prior, it really seems that, in order to understand what people are looking for, you need to understand like your addressable market size. So what's the importance of basically understanding your customer? Obviously, we could have our own podcast discussion about that, but just in the
Entirely.
context of SEO, yes, in the context of SEO, basically, how do you drill down on understanding your niche? How can you, and what strategies may you have for doing so, and also the benefits that you could reap because of it?
Yeah, there's a lot there. So I would say, first off, it depends, right? If you're coming from an agency side, or if you're doing freelance work, or if you are a business owner yourself and you're just trying to do this on your own, right? I'm going to give you two different answers. If you are an agency, or if you're doing freelance, I always like to preface with anybody that I speak to that the clients that you're working with are the experts in their fields, right? They've been doing this for 5, 10, 15 plus years. So they know it better than I can learn it. And I could spend years and years and years, and I can get to that level eventually. But especially if it's a new relationship, they know what's best. So it's never a bad thing to go and say, hey, like, what are people looking for? What are the questions that are being raised that we can answer? And then it comes back to you as someone who's working on SEO or trying to make optimizations to say, okay, I have that. How do I answer it in the best way possible to make helpful content, right? Because Google and other search engines, Google primarily uses what's called EEAT, expertise, experience, trust, and authoritativeness. I did that in the wrong order, but there you go. They're all there. And so if you follow those principles, how can we make content that aligns with that? And that's not necessarily, your client or whoever you're working with might know those questions, but I know how to address them properly, or should know how to address them properly. Now, if you're just a business that's doing it on your own, that's one of the actual strong use cases for AI, is to go back to that audio file example, right? Is we can plug into ChatGPT and say, hey, in the role of an audio file, what are some of the questions I should be asking to evaluate the quality of a pair of audiophile level headphones? And it can bring out those questions. Now, as someone doing SEO, I can take those questions. I don't want to take them at face value and just say, yep, all right, this is what people are searching. Go, make content, run. Right? I want to evaluate and say, hey, how many people are searching this? What's the competitiveness? And do all those traditional keyword research tactics that you would normally do to evaluate what are the quality. Is it worth the time to actually pursue some of those questions? And I think that's really where, how I would personally go about doing some of those optimizations.
I guess, one thread that we can, continue to explore is basically like, how does the use of AI in search, impact between, or the balance between, like something like a paid search engine marketing
Mm.
and perhaps like organic SEO? Because I know, there are many ways that you can, promote your business and such. The way you rank, obviously, you could pay to play, or you could just, have an amazingly, optimized website, if you will. But I'm sure, AI is impacting all of these. Can you perhaps maybe talk about, how this is taking place, and maybe some levers that people may not know to improve, ranking with, all of this influx of, AI content and optimization that's, flooding the landscape?
So I get to use one of my favorite expressions in SEO, which is like, can you optimize for AI? Yes, but also no. Um, so think back, right? Think back. We were all around when voice search was big on the rise, and everyone was asking the questions. It was coming up. How do I rank for voice search? Like, we need to get on Alexa, and we need to be on Google Home, and all these things. And if you go back and you actually look at some of those articles, the information you'll find is almost the same exact thing as what people are saying for AI. And what those people are saying are the same things they've been saying to optimize for regular search results. So, yes, it's a big deal. Yes, there's a lot of changes, but it does tie back to a lot of those same core principles that Google has always wanted to do. At the end of the day, whether it's Google, it's Bing, DuckDuckGo, or any other search engine, what it comes down to is, are you answering the questions people are having in the best way possible? Yes or no? And if you're answering in the best way possible, then you get all those other tangible benefits, right? You might get backlinks from other sites because you did a really good job at it. Then you'll have you've properly written with optimized keyword density, right? These things that come naturally from good written content that for years people have saying, well, don't over optimize, don't try to stuff keywords, don't try to, abuse internal links and hide text in your page to get a keyword density ratio. All those things come naturally just by writing good content. And that same thing applies whether it is voice search before or AI search now. It's still looking for EEAT: expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trust. And if you're doing those things, then your website will rank well. And I think the biggest shift now that comes from all this is what I had mentioned before, where it's not so much that you want to just target a generalized search phrase like, hey, I'm looking for tomato plants, right? That's going to be harder to do. But if you search, you find that there's 100 monthly searches for someone or for a group of people that are looking for what's the best time of year to plant a tomato plant? How far apart should I plant them? Right? Those types of more specific questions. Not only do you get the benefit of sort of a higher conversion rate on some of those, but you'll also find that you'll have more opportunity to show up in those competitive spaces because those are the questions that people are asking that AI is going to pull because you're the most relevant source on it.
Yeah. And I guess, something with AI that I always like to, like drive home is that, AI in its current state, I'll preface, is not designed to replace, but rather it's designed to, optimize and help people perhaps, find things more easily.
For now.
Are there any AI tools that you're using in particular that could, help you identify these white spaces?
I think if you're performing search engine optimization, most tools now will promote some level of AI assistance. I think that in order for a lot of these companies to stay relevant, if you're looking for premium tools, they're using AI in order to try to elevate their relevance to people performing these jobs. So in particular, I use daily SEMrush. They have AI tools built into it. I think that a lot of the functionalities that you'll find, especially in the SEO space, unless you're using it for content writing, which is a whole other beast entirely as it pertains to AI and content. But as long as if you're doing it for things such as keyword research, I see all the time, I see buzzwords thrown around like we're using AI to pull in all the best stuff. It's the same. It's built on the same platform that they've been using. They analyze the amount of searches, they pull it in, they give you the difficulty for the keyword based on how many websites are targeting those things. They give you the search volume based on what they find. And we've had access to that data for years and years. So in that regard, it hasn't changed too much. I think the bigger benefit is when you can really, what it can help with is if you're trying to find topic research, there's tools in SEMrush that I'm going to sound like a brand ambassador if I keep pounding it, but there's tools there where they can pull in large content clusters for you. So we're talking like if you're wondering how do I find the relevant topics for our audience, you can say, hey, here's a broad subject, and it can give you the who, what, where, when, why, how questions that might lead into some of those longer tail keywords that are optimized for AI. There's another great tool called Answer the Public, which it's built explicitly for that to give you this large wheel of what are the possible different ways that people can be searching for some of these elements. And I'm sure that those have, newer AI elements built into them.
And I'm sure like one thing that we always need to talk about with AI are just the the ethical considerations and mainly importance of accuracy when it comes to using these tools. Um, Basically, I'm sure there are call outs for or watch outs rather for anything using AI and the way that it's being utilized. But is there anything that you advise perhaps brands to be cognizant of when they're using AI just to make sure again they're not using it for any malintent or anything that could potentially damage their site reputation?
The best, yeah. So the best thing I could say is we all know this has been spoken on before, and probably the audience that listens to this podcast will be well aware that AI pulls from sources, right? That's how it gets its information. It scans really quickly and pulls in a lot of data. So I would just recommend placing your content through plagiarism checkers, right? Some of these tools, if you're using it for content or copywriting use, there's a chance that they might have a built-in plagiarism checker in some capacity. There's plenty of free online ones. There's also free online tools that they can be hit or miss. I think they're still trying to refine the technology behind them. But there are tools that will say, hey, was this written by AI? Yes or no? And you can plug it in and it'll tell you this is 50% or 40% or 2% written by AI, suspected based on the way that it uses its verbiage. So there's tools that you can use to check for these sorts of things. I'd recommend, without a doubt, if you're using it for content, check for that plagiarism. Make sure that you're not blatantly ripping off any other website, because you can get into, copyright issues there. You can get into some legal trouble for just plagiarism. So it's not worth it. Not worth the risk. Use it to help you.
And we'll get into our final question. We'll end on a positive note, which is what I ask all of our guests now, and that's basically, what are you most excited about when it comes to the potential of AI and search engine optimization, and basically what's going on in your life, and do you have anything to share with our users, or our listeners rather?
What am I excited about? I think, does it have to be related to SEO? Because there's some cool things going on in AI. um, just the other day I was watching, some of the Boston Dynamics robots where they're, actively putting things away and they're interacting, they're folding laundry and all, that's a background of the robotic side mixed with the AI. And it's just super cool to see. But I guess in the AI space, I think one of the cool things is that it ties into what I said before. So with SEO, you can find all this information more accessibly than ever before. So it's open. So if you're just a normal user and you're trying to find, we've seen even in the earlier days of AI, and it's only getting better, right? People have compared modern day AI to sort of the start of AOL when they were doing their dial-up internet. Like that's where we are with AI currently. So it's only going to keep growing, but even still, you can go and design entire outdoor activity plans, for trips. This is my budget, this is where I'm going, here's where I'm staying, these are the things I like to do, and it'll pull up a whole itinerary for you. So things of that nature, which is tied to search engine optimization, right? Because it's getting those results from travel websites. You could do that in any vertical. We talked about the headphones before. If you're trying to research a product, and all this information is accessible just like that. I think it's super cool. I think it's super helpful for users to be able to interact in that way. And I'm looking forward to seeing where it can go. Bit wary, of course. I think, most rational people are, but it's also exciting.
Awesome. Well, Michael, it's been awesome to have you. If anyone has found the information in this podcast to be useful, please like, share, subscribe. We have great content that's in the pipeline, a lot more great guest speakers. So please do stay posted and keep updated with us. And Michael, I will see you probably later.
It's been a pleasure.